Welcome to MMT Chats. This episode is brought to you by ISCAR with new ideas for machining intelligently. Hey MMT followers, welcome to a special MMT chat with the MoldMaking Technology team to talk everything Plastics Technology Expo, or more specifically, the MoldMaking Pavilion at PT Expo. This was the debut of Gardner Business Media's Midwest Plastics event that took place March 29th to the 31st in Rosemont, Illinois. I'm Christina Fuchs from MoldMaking Technology, and with me today are MMT's marketing manager, Dan Sweat.
Hi.
Our managing editor, Grace Nels, and our digital editor, Kara Decknodel. Welcome, team.
Hi.
Hi, Christina.
All right, so we're going to give a quick rundown of all of our impressions and what you may have missed if you were unable to attend the event. So let's get to it. All right, so with all the preparation that went into this major trade show for us, and now that it's over, I want each of you to give me one word that describes this event. And I'm going to start. I'm going to say dynamic. And when I say dynamic, I mean, because we haven't been able to be together for so long, we were pretty much immersed in technology that hasn't happened in a while. And we got to see and feel stuff. It was hands-on. So to me, that's what I mean by dynamic. So how about you, Dan?
For me, it was refreshing. For a similar reason, it was refreshing to be back in person with the industry. It was refreshing to see new technology, people excited about new things. Being on the show floor, we got to see a lot of people making connections, meeting new people, strengthening their business in person, and that's always a refreshing feeling, right? When it feels like new things are coming light for our exhibitors, for our attendees. So very refreshing to be back in person at PT Expo.
I like that word. I like it. How about you, Grace?
I would have to say lively. Time and time again, I kept telling people this each day that we had the show. There was just this energy that was brought by exhibitors, by the people who attended, even by our own group here. Coming back from a mirror mold, which was great as well. I think this was probably one of the first trade shows that really felt like a trade show. I think everyone was just super excited to be there. Everyone was ready to crack down and meet some people and just reconnect all over again. And I think it was definitely lively.
Lively. Okay, Kara, your turn.
I would say educational, because for me, it was my first trade show, especially in the manufacturing industry. So I learned a lot, and it was a great opportunity for me to talk to mold makers about their different projects and services. So it was a great learning experience for me.
Actually, that kind of ties nicely into the event as a whole. We're so used to an emerald mold where it's a little more nichey for our mold making audience, and this was broader. So there was probably a lot of educating going on, not just for somebody brand new to the industry, but a lot of people being connected to people that they're not typically connected to. So that's a good one. Okay, so for those of you on the call, which would be Grace and Dan, who have attended a mirror mold, how would you say PT Expo was different? Dan?
Well, mirror mold is very concentrated on emerging technology education. PT Expo is unique because the MoldMaking Pavilion is a part of a larger plastics world, right? And so to have MoldMaking Pavilion as part of a larger plastics show and to sort of connect those worlds is really interesting. It allows for our mold makers that are exhibiting or attending to broaden their horizons, to learn things outside of the mold making bubble and connect with people in other parts of the supply chain that could help better their business or further their knowledge for those looking to learn some things. It felt more I don't want to say communal because the mirror mold is very communal, but it felt more like the focus was on making connections and having conversations. So the Tech Talk Theater was buzzing all week. It was great at PT Expo, but we cut down on the number of sessions, allowed for more time for our attendees and exhibitors to connect on the show floor and to meet people. And I think that really showed. It was a louder show floor. It was a busier show floor. And I think that energy was prominent all week.
How about you, Grace? Because I know you really liked a mirror mold. So I'm curious to see how you felt this was different.
Well, I mean, Dan summed up a lot of it, but I definitely like a much larger footprint because because it covered so many different areas. It wasn't so niche that like we're used to for a mirror mold. You know, we had extrusion, we had injection molding, we had a recycling area. It was all over the place. And going with that, I mean, compared to a mirror mold, this past time, there was a lot more going on the show floor. So there were a lot more demonstrations, a lot more like technology that you could actually go up and see and watch how it worked and that sort of thing. So that's that's how it was.
That's the big takeaway for me. The biggest obvious difference is those demos. I think we had 8 presses running molds, and some were running the molds of mold builders that were exhibiting at our show. So you're really able to see the processing technology and the mold innovation technology right on the show floor. And that, you're right, totally different on the plastic side. We have had that before on the metal cutting side in a mirror mold to a degree, but that was pretty much the eye candy at the show. And it flowed nicely from that injection molding pavilion right to our pavilion. So that worked out nicely for us. All right. So when you think about an event like this, I know I've been asked, and you guys probably were during the event even, was it successful? So we'll start with you, Dan. Like if you were to answer that question, not so much what you would say, because I kind of think I know what you would say, but how do you measure success of an event like this?
I measure success on the happiness of the attendees and the exhibitors. I mean, first and foremost, we're aiming to put on a show for our community, right? So if our community is happy, then I feel that we've done a good job and that the show was successful. And time again, I talk to exhibitors throughout the week. I talk to attendees who were learning, who were connecting, who were meeting people that they didn't already have in their circle of friends and customers. And that's what these trade shows are all about. We received an incredible amount of positive feedback. Our exhibitors renewed for next year at a fantastically high rate. So I think the excitement about 2023, PT Expo 2023, is a great indicator of how successful PT Expo 2022 was.
That's a good one. How about you, Grace? How do you define success?
I kind of had the same experience this time around. I didn't get to visit everyone, but I did visit booths just to talk to exhibitors and see how they were doing. And the one question I always asked was, how was the show for you guys? How are you feeling? And every single time from day one, everyone was like, this is great. Like we've got a lot of leads, like a lot of promising leads. A lot of the attendees who are here are just super enthusiastic and really want to know our technology or our services. And I don't think I heard one negative comment or had any negative feedback from the show, which was great.
That is good. How about you, Kara? Being new to a trade show like this and in our space, in our manufacturing space, how would you say you measure success?
So of course, all the positive feedback, all the smiling faces, and everybody seemed really pleased with it. But also, again, it's my first trade show, but to me, I was like, there's a lot of people here. So just like the turnout in general was just really good. And, from my standpoint, so to me, I was like, oh, the show's going really well. So
you can't deny numbers. You can't deny energy level. And the one quote that stands out to me, and I can't remember which exhibitor it was that the morning leads of the first morning, they were like, that paid for the event, our investment. We could leave now and be happy. And that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
All right.
Those were our friends at ID Additives.
Is that who it was?
It was ID Additives. Yeah, they made a point to come by. Yeah, they visited us at the end of day one and said in the first 10 minutes, they talked to somebody who could potentially pay for their whole show. And that's
what it's all about, right? All right. So now let's get to the most important part. Anybody that wasn't able to attend, what the most interesting technology or process that you saw or process that you learned about. I'm going to start just because I want people to check out it on social media, because Grace and I got to demo a virtual reality training tool at Cruise Analysis. So Tornston Cruise was there. I actually thought, to me, like you, Grace, I wasn't able to walk the aisles like I typically do. We were doing too much in the booth, but that was a standout attraction. I mean, I hope more people got to experience that like we did. I wasn't that good at it, but what a way to bring education into a post-COVID world, right, where you can't get on site, and just like in an advanced manufacturing type of way, like put on these goggles, can actually be within a molding room and see a molding machine and open the door once I was able to figure that out, and get your hands in there and work the control. I thought that was an incredible highlight for me, was to be able to touch without it actually being a machine. So that's mine. How about you, Dan?
Well, I was mostly the booth man, so I didn't get a chance to get out onto the floor a ton. But in keeping with a similar vein of education, I'll tell you a highlight for me. In our booth, we had a mold maker card game that we played every day with a lot of visitors. And in a similar way, it was a great way to teach and to educate those like me who are fairly new to the mold making world, just about what goes into the actual art of making a mold, what the pieces are, what the parts are, how they fit together. This particular card game was created from some German mold makers friends who contacted Christina, reached out about this card game before the show. And the goal is sort of to try to collect the cards, collect the pieces to make a complete mold based on the component you're trying to build. And we played it every day in the booth, and we gave away a ton of decks of cards to people who were really excited to take these things back to their companies so they could play it during happy hour. But mostly we heard, and Grace heard it, I know, a ton too, is people wanted to take these back and implement it into their training programs, to take their apprentices, sit down and have a fun way to learn how these pieces work. And for me, somebody who's still new to this technology, being able to, play a game, hold these things, see them up close in person, that was really a really exciting thing for me. And it seemed really well received from the people that visit our booth as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, and definitely different. How about you, Grace? You also saw a lot. You talked to a lot of people and saw a lot just from our booth. So I'm curious what you take away.
Yeah, so I actually try to wander around farther from our booth too, in the same general area. But I think what really caught my eyes when I went to see Engel's quick change mold demo, that was super cool because, like Dan, a lot of my education so far within this industry has sort of been remote or kind of from a pullback perspective. I've yet to visit a shop, and some stuff that I've been learning from articles, from videos. That's really where I'm still sitting. So being able to see something like a mold change like that up front was super cool. And not only did it emphasize the efforts being taken to make that process more efficient and to reduce, machine downtime. But they also did it in less than 10 minutes when I watched the demo. They said, we'll do this in 10 minutes. And they did it in less, which was pretty impressive, even for someone as new as me. And I also felt, there was a lot of teamwork because it was a kind of a combination between Engel and Staubli. So, that teamwork was really a nice touch, because we all know that advancing any industry, especially mold making, it's going to be a team effort.
Yeah. And I think it was a Remke mold in the machine too. I think it was a mold builder that was, I'm not sure if they were exhibiting or not, but yeah, it was their tool.
I think they provided the molds. I think they were like fruit bowls and salad tongs or something like that. Yeah.
Pretty cool. It's always good to see something up close and personal. That actually brings your job, everything you edit and help with on the brand. Like, oh my gosh, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate it more too, because it's hard to comprehend how challenging something can be. Like just reading about it, you're like, okay, that makes sense. That's how that works. But how much time does it really take? How difficult it really is. How can we make this process more efficient?
Yep. All right, Kara. Really interested for you because, again, you're our newbie right now. You're about a month in, aren't you? So what did you, and you were at least able to walk around. I'm sure it was overwhelming, but even if you don't know what you were looking at, what captured your attention the most?
All the software that was used to monitor the machines from a different location. Again, like with the VR, we're moving into more remote positions, and I thought that was very useful, and also just fascinating that's the technology that we have now today.
Yeah, that is how we are advancing the industry. It's all data related, which all that machine monitoring, mold monitoring, it's all that same family. So it's good that you that you saw that up close and personal, and that's where a lot of innovation is actually happening. Another aspect of the show, it's just all these connections that not only we're helping the industry make, but we're making. And one of the most fun things for me is there must have been 2 or 3 people that were my LinkedIn connections that I got to meet in person. And it was Steve from Zero Tolerance. It was Richard from Reaction Plastics. Even got them engaged and playing that card game, Dan. But to me, that is a highlight, taking from the social media setting and meeting them in person. So how about you, Dan? Connections.
Well, something that was near and dear to my heart for this show was we created something called the Champion Circle, which was a new concept for us at Gardner and particularly for PT Expo, where we spoke to our editorial staff and reached out to a collection of different people from around the industry that represented a wide array of processes and materials to see if they'd be interested in partnering with us to help build excitement for the show. We wanted to work with people that were excited about the show already and just sort of help them amplify their voice and help them amplify our voice at the same time. We had 5 wonderful partners connect with us. We were able to do all sorts of collaboration on social media with video, with special hashtags, special posts, things like that. And I really think that this was super successful in building a lot of excitement on social media. It's the most I've ever seen one of our events on social media leading up to an event, and that's has a ton to do with the Champion Circle efforts. And what that does is it creates a community online before the show even begins. You've got people interacting with hashtags, with posts. People are interacting in the comments about things they're looking forward to, things they're excited about. So already, like you said, you were excited to connect with some people you knew over social media that you hadn't met before. We're doing those same things on social media for the entire attendee base and helping to breed those interactions before we even get to the show floor. So there's already an air of excitement about the people you're going to meet and specific people you're going to meet. So big shout out to the Champion Circle. They were wonderful.
Big thank you.
Yeah, big thank you. But for me, that was the connective tissue that really was something special for us at PT
That's a
Expo.
good one. And what I keep saying is nobody in the industry can say they didn't know about this show. And they were a big part of helping.
Absolutely.
That, right? All right, Grace, how about you? Your most valuable connection?
That's a really hard question for me because it's, with my position on MMT, I jump around a lot. I do a lot of stuff. So being able to sit down and really get to know someone is always a challenge that I'm working hard towards improving. So, I saw familiar faces that I saw from Mold. We had quite a few mold builders and other exhibitors that were very familiar. I met Charles Daniel from Webco again. It was always great to see him. I met Brenda Clark from Hasco, but I also met a lot of new faces. Like you mentioned from cruise training, Torsten, and I met Juan Gomez from Exact Metal, and just a range of other people from CUMSA and Editorial Engineering and all that stuff. Every single one of them was really valuable, and every single one of them I now have on my LinkedIn, so I can keep up with them.
Yay, nice. I love how we can make those connections internally too. We're not just helping people out there, we're doing it ourselves, right?
Right.
How about you, Kara?
Kind of following up on what Grace said with making the connection with Exact Metal. We all sat and talked with them for a while, and I thought that was really, really valuable. And then immediately after PT Expo, I heard from their marketing person.
Nice.
So just making that connection immediately just meant a lot to me, and I know it's a connection I can make and bounce ideas off of even.
What you're saying is very important, and this is something that needs to be said out there too. It's very important when you get the leads that you follow up with them right away. It's too quickly and actually a lot of the people that were at our show are at another show this week, and there's another show the next week. So it is critical for everybody, as good as a show is, you got to follow up and continue those connections. So good move on connecting it with Abigail, right away, because otherwise it just gets lost in the shuffle, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So let's see, kind of like a fun one to kind of end upon is, who had the best giveaway outside of, all of our giveaways, our Molds Make t-shirts? You can't use us. Who else had a good giveaway?
Well, Dan? I don't remember the name of the exhibitor. Maybe you guys can help me, but they signed up to exhibit the show the Monday before the show began, which is crazy, in the best way. Obviously, we're happy to build the community however we can, but you would think that if they signed up to exhibit on Monday, maybe they'd come unprepared. They did not. They were serving drinks in their booth. And the thing that I saw most prominent in terms of giveaways from other booths was that they had a koozie that fit around a beer bottle that had a built-in bottle popper in the koozie. So sort of a 2-in-1. A fun combination between metal and other materials if you're digging into that. But I saw more people carrying around beer bottles in those things than anything else. And anytime you're giving away drinks in the booth, it's going to be sort of a haven for people. I thought but what was impressive to me is that they came prepared with this brightly colored, eye-catching thing, even though they decided to exhibit on Monday. It was a big hit. So
that's incredible.
Kudos to them.
Yeah. How about you, Grace?
I don't think it was the same company. It was actually kind of funny. I was introduced to it because there was one gentleman that came up to MMT's booth during one of our happy hours, like when we were playing the Mold Makers game, and we had our selective beers and wine. And some guy came up and was holding some kind of piece of metal, 3D printed metal, and was like, he went up to me and was like, can you see if this works? Can you open a beer bottle with this? So we actually handed it off to our temporary bartender, and he tried it, and we gave it out to the guy, and he was like, "Oh, that's really cool." I guess it was a 3D one of the booths, 3D printed one of the, like a bottle opener. I don't know if it was the same company that you might have been speaking about, Dan. I also know that Next Chapter was selling beer bottle openers, so it might have been them. I'm not actually sure. I didn't end up getting one, which I'm kind of disappointed in myself for not grabbing
actually,
one.
I can email. It probably was Jason. We could probably email him and get you one. That would have been a good social media post. Is you guys using a 3D printed?
Well, we all know that beer and trade shows go hand in hand these days. So
that is true.
It just seemed really useful, and I mean there was a lot going on, but there was a lot of emphasis on 3D printing or services like that this show too. So I thought that was kind of prominent.
How about you, Kara?
I believe the booth was Mova Color.
Oh, okay.
And they had a backpack that said, "I used to be a plastic bottle." And again, it's one of those things I kept seeing, and I'm like, I have to get over that booth. So their heads were in the right place for sure.
That's a good one. That is one thing we all should take time doing, is we each give each other time to go walk the show just to get all the freebies, because we don't get to do that.
Right.
Thank you, team. But more importantly, I want to give a big thank you to all those out there who supported the event, the sponsors, the exhibitors, the speakers, the attendees. And remember to check out ptexpo.com for details for 2023, believe it or not. And more importantly, MoldMakingTechnology.com for post-show coverage that we'll be doing digitally and in print, coming soon in the upcoming issue. And then for everything mold making related, visit MoldMakingTechnology.com.